Hey, it's John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and it's The Entrepreneurial You, the show for dedicated and passionate Caribbean entrepreneurs seeking daily inspiration, brought to you by author, speaker, and award-winning entrepreneur Heneka Watkis-Porter. You must be prepared to ignite.
Coming up on this episode of The Entrepreneurial You.
From a talent perspective, we need to consider everyone's talent and capabilities. And I think part of that question for me is not just what the talent has shown, but what the talent potential is for the future and what this individual can bring to the table. We always tell people, don't just think about today. Think about tomorrow. Think about 18 months out. Think about 3 years out. And we need to hire for potential as well as direct experience.
Hi, I'm Heneka Watkis-Porter, your inspirational leader and host of the Entrepreneurial You podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Jamaica Stock Exchange. And now, let's go to today's episode. On episode 79 of the Entrepreneurial You podcast is the president of Centennial, which specializes in talent strategy and executive search. He's also the founder and CEO of the Talent Magnet Institute and the host of the Talent Magnet Institute podcast. Known as one of the leading connectors in the executive search industry, leaders have benefited from his advice, guidance, connections, and expertise. He partners with leaders who have a strong desire to build the right team as they grow and transform their businesses. His firm serves organizations that operate regionally as well as globally and is a sought-after speaker to associations, peer groups, and organizations on the subject of becoming a talent magnet. And of course, that's trademarks. The pleasure is mine to welcome Mike Sipple Jr. to the Entrepreneurial You podcast. Welcome, Mike.
Wonderful, Heneka. Thank you so much for having us on. And I am an avid listener to your podcast, and it's a real honor to be with you today.
Thank you. That means a lot to me to hear you say that. I really appreciate that. In fact, I just listened to one of your episodes as well, and I just left my rate and review. So yes, and I love what you're doing on that podcast, Talent Magnet. So good job there. What, if anything, do you know about Jamaica?
Well, so I have been there once. I actually was on a missions trip about 12 years ago to White House, Jamaica. So I had a great experience there working at an orphanage for a week and a half.
Oh, that was beautiful. That's in Westmoreland. White House is in Westmoreland. That's actually where my dad lives.
Okay. Wow. Such a small world.
Okay. So today we're talking about talent management and retention. What is talent management?
Talent management is a holistic approach to human capital and leadership. And elevating, what does it take to run a business? It takes talent, it takes people. And the whole talent management approach, in our case, what we call becoming a talent magnet, which is a solution and a structure that the Talent Magnet Institute leads, is a best practices approach to leading people and building a healthy organization and planning for the future as well. So not just how you're executing today, but how you're planning your organization to reach its long-term goals and what we like to say, your next chapter of success.
That has to be part and parcel of your strategy, part of your business plan when you're putting together your business, your vision for your business. That ought to be part of that planning.
Yeah, so that's the talent strategy piece for our search firm, our executive search firm, is branded the Talent Magnet Institute. And all of the best practices to help elevate organizations to truly become a talent magnet for individuals, which doesn't just mean you attract the best people and ideas, but you retain the best people and ideas and elevating your employment brand to ultimately win in the marketplace.
You know, Mike, I once operated a brick and mortar store, and the truth is, when I did that, it was the most daunting of challenges to find the right people. It always seemed like an uphill battle. How do we get this right? Where do we begin?
I'll walk you through, Heneka, and all of your listeners, all of our listeners, I'll walk you through kind of the approach that we would recommend for anyone to think about. So first is thinking about your ambassadors. So think about the people who are with you today and the people who are no longer with you. And what are they saying about your organization? What was their experience like? What did you help them achieve? What personal goals or objectives did they meet or not meet while they were with you or while they're with you today? So think about your ambassadors. What are people talking about for your organization? And then we look at the retention, right? And retention's typically not just about, did I keep people, but people want to have meaningful work, be clearly communicated with, and have open dialogue and trust and feel understood. So understanding personal and professional goals, having a voice, being able to provide feedback. So we like to help people start there. Think about the experiences people have or have had with your organization, and what type of environment are you having that helps people attract and ultimately be retained inside your company. And then we also look at development. People, individuals, all of us want to be challenged. All of us want to grow in some fashion. All of us want to overcome fears and challenges that we put in front of ourselves or that others might place in front of us. And people like to experience change. Believe it or not, we find that organizations that are constantly adjusting and changing for the future typically have a very highly engaged workforce. And they're positioning in a way that people understand why the change is coming, and people also understand what you're going to get out of that change and how you're going to grow as a person from that standpoint. So helping people ultimately develop inside your company. And then you get into the typical attract and recruit and onboard, right? And we always like to start people kind of on the reverse and think about, what is it like to be a part of your organization? Then you have to get your message right, be a culture that people would be attracted to, lead an organization that people would want to be a part of, be a place that values in diversity and inclusion, and a place that really understands to maximize everything we're trying to achieve. We need people to think differently, and then bring those people on the same team to help us maximize our ultimate potential. From the search firm perspective, think about getting specific and defining your who. Would be two areas that we spend quite a bit of time with organizations all over the world. Not just specific, the job you want to hire, but what are you trying to achieve with that talent when they join your organization? What does the ultimate talent supply need to look like to meet your 5-year objectives? And how do you develop the ideal leader who's going to help you win and you're going to help them win to ultimately bring your organization to success? So kind of painting the picture for the future and really thinking about the clarity that we need to have and the talent we need to be able to attract.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You are, of course, you're into leadership. You're big into leadership, and you're my fellow LeaderCast host. How was it for you, by the way? The last LeaderCast 2018. How was that?
Oh, it was wonderful. It was the first year in 12 years that I've participated in a host site that was up on the big screen. For the LeaderCast live event, we sent a video in, and the energy level was wonderful, and people really got a lot out of the event.
Awesome. It was my first year doing it in Kingston, and I absolutely love it, such that I'm doing again LeaderCast Women in October, so I'm looking forward to that.
Wonderful. Yes, I wish you all the best there.
Thank you so much. I digressed because what I really want to ask, though, is, and that's why we kind of segue into leadership, is what are some of the biggest challenges that talent management faces? Some of those issues and challenges. What are some of the biggest ones?
Well, I think one is the unemployment rates around the world are at some of the lowest points that they've ever been, right? So we have to think creatively. We have to think proactively. You need to really, what we say, spend as much time thinking about your talent strategy as you do your business strategy. And how does our business strategy achieves its goals by ensuring that we've got the right talent strategy to support the goals. And really think, we as leaders, as employers, as businesses that are growing and that are around people, we need to think proactively how to build the right teams and get the right teams engaged and get the right teams rowing together in unison and in the same direction. Businesses and change and innovation is at an all-time high, and we have to think from that standpoint. What should our innovation look like relating to our talent and our people practices? The other dynamic, Heneka, is organizations need to understand the pulse of their people, right? So you can't go at it in the blind. You need to take the time to really, and probably not to do it yourself, but to have someone come in and help do just what's it like to work here. So being transparent, being open, creating a culture of transparency and understanding and respecting other people's perspectives. Leaders need to be more open and respecting other people's perspectives. Typically when you have a quote unquote unhealthy culture, it's not because everybody wants to keep it unhealthy. It usually comes down to people aren't sharing what needs to be shared, and people aren't confronting what needs to be confronted. And if you can create an environment where full transparency and openness, and it's okay to challenge thoughts and perspectives, and that's how we stay current and stay consistent and stay on the same page. So leaning into your culture, understanding what it's really like to work for you as an entrepreneur. I always think, what would it be like to work for me? Well, we do 360s and we do cultural audits every 3 years with our team. And we have clients who do those as well. So, and then, the other big aspect from a leader perspective is it comes back to a little bit of the innovation side, creative thinking, creative problem solving. The complexities and the competition in the market is also at an all-time high from our perspective. And we need to think creatively how to further solve our customers' problems and help our customers achieve their success, and leaning into the customer conversations and further understanding and having great transparency even on that side as well.
Employees need to understand the pulse of their people. Understand the pulse of their people. Such a profound statement. And we're going to take a break right here, Mike. And I'm going to read a review and thank my sponsor, and then we come right back. I'm reading this review from Ruby LaView out of the UK. That's the username. And this person simply says, every episode is a gem. Thank you, Ruby LaView out of the UK.
Attention women! Accelerate your leadership by attending LeaderCast Women. Via live stream, hear from expert negotiator Molly Fletcher, former president of Reebok Marilyn Tam, and other internationally accomplished women on October 12th at the Knutsford Court Hotel. LeaderCast Women is the largest one-day leadership event for women in the world. Brought to you by the Entrepreneurial You in association with the RGR Gleaner Communications Group. For tickets, please call 876-849-2571 or visit HenekaWatkis-Porter.com.
Get noticed, make a great first impression, and build trust with potential customers and clients. StudioCraft Professional Headshots helps business leaders and entrepreneurs just like you look remarkably confident at their studio in Kingston, Jamaica. Visit studiocraftja.com today and enter offer code TEY20 when booking to receive a 20% discount on your first professional headshot session. StudioCraft Professional Headshots, helping professionals look remarkable. Do you have a product or service to put out to the world, but you don't know where to begin? Do you have an idea for a blog, but think that having a website is just way too expensive? Do you want to start a website, but don't know where to begin? If you answered yes to any of these questions, visit HenekaWatkis-Porter.com and sign up to HostGator Web Hosting. For as little as $2.75 per month, you can have the perfect option for your small site or blog. You'll have user-friendly building tools and unlimited domains. Go to HenekaWatkis-Porter.com and sign up now for your perfect websites. Welcome back. And I have been having a conversation with Mike Sipple Jr. He is the president of Centennial. He's the host of the Talent Magnet Institute podcast, as well as the founder and CEO of the Talent Magnet Institute. Before I continue with my own questioning, this question came from, because I did put on social media that I'm interviewing you, Mike. And this question came from Kevron Greatness Sutton on Facebook. And his question is, how much does a person's talent should be considered when hiring?
It's a great question. Thank you for asking that question. From a talent perspective, I mean, we need to consider everyone's talent and capabilities. And I think part of that question for me is not just what the talent has shown, but what the talent potential is for the future and what this individual can bring to the table. We always tell people, don't just think about today, think about tomorrow, think about 18 months out, think about 3 years out. And we need to hire for potential as well as direct experience. So I believe that's how I heard the question asked. And that would be what I would encourage people to think about, the potential in all people. And, you know, I have shared many stories on our podcast over at the Talent Magnet Institute that it usually those who achieve high levels of success, it's not just because of themselves. It's because someone saw the potential in them, they pushed them, they challenged them, or they invited them into a role that maybe they didn't even think they were capable of doing at the time, but because someone saw their full potential. And we need to be hiring with that in mind as well.
So it's not just about talent, but even the potential of the candidate as well as their attitude. And it's an all-encompassing phenomenon that we need to be looking at. I remember when I was employed to the Port Authority of Jamaica, which is it falls within the 100th top ports within the world. So it was a big deal. And I remember having a supervisor, a manager, who he would just push me into the deep end. At that time when he was doing it, I did not like it. I resented it so much. But after I left, having left and started my own business, I recognized how much value I place on the fact that he did that, because it allowed me to know some things about myself that I didn't know before.
Absolutely. And so many people have that experience. We can all look back, whether it's a teacher, a family member, a mentor, an employer, a coworker that saw the potential in you and encouraged you to take that next step. Including some people that experience going out of your comfort zone back to growth, change, and challenge. We all love to grow. We all love to be challenged, and we believe that a lot of individuals love change because it helps them grow and learn new things and be challenged. So that would certainly align very well there.
So then, as we continue toward the end of our conversation, I want you to leave with us, Mike, some tips on how to, first of all, because you did mention some previously in terms of identifying and searching for that talent, but some tips on managing the talent and to ensure that we don't, as an employer, we don't train them and then they leave. But that's okay, because people move on, but not just, for the fact that they don't want to stay with us because we're not taking care of them. We're not doing what's necessary to retain them. So some tips on managing talent as well as retaining them. It's part of the management process, of course.
Absolutely. So, one of the areas is have conversations with your people. If you haven't had conversations about their goals and objectives, and their personal goals and objectives. So set away the business goals and objectives. There's a reason why someone desires to work and to come to work every day. And our hope is that by you having those conversations with your talent, you'll understand their personal goals and objectives and help them align. If you're on our team and you're helping us achieve our goals and objectives, here's how these two things are going to come together. And those are the highest engaged employees, people who can see themselves not just in the job they're in, but the life they have. And bringing their personal goals and their professional goals together can create an incredible competitive advantage. So that would be one. I think, the other part is to really be open and evaluate your corporate culture. What's it like to work here? What's it like to be a part of my team? Whether you're a W-2 employee or you're using independent contractors, how do I communicate? What's it like to be a part? And what do my customers experience when they interact with both me and my team? And think about that, the highest engaged and the best corporate cultures also have the highest engaged and best clients. So you invest well on the talent side in your business, and that will transcend to your customers and help you elevate your organization to achieve its next chapter of success.
So it's developing that culture that nurture employees and take care of them so that in the end, the bottom line will be affected positively.
Absolutely. And people will be very thankful to have worked in an environment that cares about people. And that's what we talk about from becoming a talent magnet, that it's not just about attracting people, it's holding on to people and it's retaining people. And then people turn around and tell the best people around them. I always use this analogy or an example, this weekend, this coming weekend, when your employees are asked, what's it like to work at your company and are you enjoying what you do? We should all thrive and focus on helping our clients be the positive one in that conversation that says, I love working with Heneka. And let me tell you about my experience working, at Centennial or at XYZ company. And that's a game changer. There's a lot of people working in environments that are toxic, and those listening, let's not be one of those. Let's lean in and really invest in our people in a way that brings out the best in them and brings out the best in the world around us.
And finally, before you share, because I know you have a goodie for our peak performers listening, and as well as we want you to share your contact details. But before all of that, is there an ideal candidate?
Great question. The answer is everyone's A player is uniquely different in our perspective. I mean, there's certainly aspects of leadership and of talent that are, individuals who are trustworthy, individuals who are passionate, and that passion might be extroverted, it might be introverted, but how do you find people who love what they do, problem solvers, creative thinkers, etc.? But what we also find is from company to company, there are uniquenesses. And an A player in one environment doesn't necessarily equate to an A player in another environment. And we need to take into consideration the team around them, the culture you provide. And, so understanding the differences is as important of understanding the qualities of an A player. And we have some great resources on that at centennialinc.com, centennialinc.com. We've got some great blog posts on the characteristics of leaders that I would encourage the listeners to take advantage of and to stop over and check those out.
That gives the corporate culture white paper as well?
Yes. So we have, for the listeners today, we have 10 questions to ask to maximize your talent. So 10 questions to ask to maximize your talent. And you can get access to that at talentmagnetinstitutepodcast.com/talent. That's talentmagnetinstitutepodcast.com/talent. There will be a free white paper to all the listeners today to go and download.
And thank you so much on behalf of our Peak Performers community. I have been talking with Mike Sipple. Mike Sipple is the president of Centennial. He's also the founder and the CEO of the Talent Magnet Institute and the host of the Talent Magnet Institute podcast. So he's a fellow podcaster and a fellow LeaderCast host. We have a lot in common. So thank you so much, Mike, and I wish you every success in all that you do.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Heneka, for all you do in our community, the world that you're reaching, and your investment in the entrepreneurs around the world to really help them bring out their best.
We have come to the end of another great episode of the Entrepreneurial You podcast. Remember to subscribe in Apple Podcasts and download all the episodes that you would have missed if you have not already subscribed and downloaded the episodes, and play them to the end as well, because good stuff is always at the end too. So do that, as well as go and leave a rate and review right now. I'd appreciate that. It helps a lot because I put a lot of effort into creating this free content, and it does help when I know that it is of significant value to you. So show your love by going to Apple Podcasts and just leave a rate and review. And when you leave that review, do send me an email at henekawatkisporter@gmail.com, because I'd love to be able to read them in an upcoming episode. And if I'm not notified, I won't know it's there, because unless you go into all the different stores in Apple, there is no way that I can actually know that a review was left or a current review was left. So it's important that when you leave your review, you send me an email, let me know about it so I can go look for it and read it live on an episode of the Entrepreneurial You podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Heneka Watkis-Porter. Remember, you were born to win, but to be a winner, you must plan to win, prepare to win, and expect to win. Walk good.